Hello and welcome to Just Jets, episode number 289. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary. Today I'm going to be talking about the best moments in New York Jets history. Got a nice reaction to what I did last time, talking about some of the more heartbreaking moments. That was, to be honest with you, I think an easier list to come up with than the best moments in Jets history, but we'll go through. I'll give you my honorable mentions. I'll give you my top five, and I want to hear from you guys too. There's a few calls that is going over both, positive and negative moments in this team's history. We're getting close. It is almost time for training camp. The calendar is flipped to July. Recording this on July 8 for a July 9 early morning July 9 release. And just excited to get into this one with you and get into the 2025 season. And who knows, maybe a moment in 2025 will end up on this list if we ever do it again in the future. So just like last week, I'll start with some honorable mentions. And I have 3 honorable mentions that stand out. So 3 honorable mentions and then 5 top moments. My first honorable mention is the Jets over Chargers AFC divisional round win. Love the 2004 win on the road in San Diego, but the Jets were going up against a 13-3 team after sneaking into the playoffs. Jets 7-7. They win their last 2 games to go to 9-7, winning in against the Bengals, which maybe we could toss that in as an honorable mention. They dominate them to get into the playoffs. They end up beating the Cincinnati Bengals in the first round, and then they go to the divisional round. And, if the Jets just bowed out at that point, which pretty much everyone thought that they were going to, the consensus was that the Chargers were a significantly better football team than the New York Jets were that year. They didn't, though. They won a ugly, sloppy, low-scoring game, but that's what that team did. They were great defensively. Darrelle Revis had an interception in that game. I think Jim Leonard also had an interception in that game. The Sean Green run for the touchdown to pretty much ice it. Thomas Jones on the 4th down conversion to send the Jets to the AFC Championship game. One of the best by far. It's a moment that I've seen. There's a lot of ones that come before my time on this list also, but that's one that I did see and do remember very, very well. Now, the second one is the Jets beat the Raiders in the divisional round in 1982. That's my second honorable mention. That was really, in a way, the Jets getting over the hump. The year before that, they lost in the playoffs. And, the Raiders were such a dominant team in that era. I don't think the Jets were really expected to win that game, similar to the 2009 divisional game I just talked about. Obviously wasn't around for that one, but a huge moment to send the Jets to the AFC Championship game. Unfortunately, the AFC Championship game, I believe, found its way onto this list last week in some of the bad moments. And then my last honorable mention before we get into the list is another one against the Raiders. The Jets beat the Raiders in the AFL Championship in 1968-1969 season and go on to the Super Bowl, clinching their first and only Super Bowl berth in their history. Okay, let's get into my top 5 list. Coming in at number 5, I'm putting the Jets' divisional playoff win against the Jaguars in the 98 season. It was a home playoff win. They had a first round bye. When did the Jets ever have a bye in the playoffs? In my lifetime, that's it. That's the only time. And I don't remember this because I was very young. But the 98 team was probably the second best team in franchise history. So they have to have a moment on here. And that win, they won, it was 34-24, big win. Keyshawn Johnson has either an interception or a pass defended. Forgive me, I forget off the top of my head right now. I obviously don't remember it live. I've seen highlights of it years and years later. But going to the AFC Championship game, they knew they had to go on the road to Denver. And they don't have a ton of playoff moments at home in their history. Most of this list is road playoff success. So coming in at number 5, I have 98. Staying in a similar era to that one, at number 4, I have the Jets destroying Peyton Manning and the Colts in the playoffs 41-0. Now, I get it. It was a wild card game, but this was the last time the Jets won a division. In 2002, Jets go 9-7. They end up winning the AFC East and kick the ever-loving you-know-what out of the Peyton Manning-led Colts. And, if you're around my age, like Peyton Manning and the Colts were such a good team year after year after year until they finally got over the hump in 2006 and won a Super Bowl, similar kind of to Josh Allen in a way, because he was never, or those teams, the Bills are never able to get over the hump, and the Colts were like that in the early 2000s. Now, for full transparency, I don't really remember this game. The next season, 2003, is really where I start to remember a lot. But a 41-0 win at home in a home playoff game, that's an absolute party. To me, that's got to be on here too. Again, right in this era, number 3 on my list is a regular season game. A regular season moment has to make the list? Question? Yes, when it's this iconic and it has a name. The Monday Night Miracle is the number 3 best moment in New York Jets history. They were down 23 points in the second half to the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football. Arnold Schwarzenegger is on the air with ESPN and says Wayne Corbett and the Jets are going to come back in the second half. And that's exactly what they did. They came back from 23 points down. Corbett had a huge second half. Jumbo Elliott has the touchdown. That's the big highlight from that game. And the Jets end up going on to win. That was in 2000. They didn't make the playoffs that year. They were just on the outside looking in. But holy cow, what an absolute iconic regular season moment. One of the best comebacks, in NFL history. Obviously, there's, the one against the Bills comeback, or the what's the other good one? The Super Bowl 28-3 is another example, but Monday Night Miracle for regular season moments is up there, and it's very iconic in Jets history, even if it is just another regular season game. It was against a divisional opponent. That one was pretty big. Number 2, I remember very well, and is by far my favorite moment of my Jets fandom. If you're listening, you know what it is. The Jets upset win in Foxborough in the 2010 divisional round. So, year before, Jets go to the AFC Championship game. Much better team the next year in 2010. They go 11-5. The Jets started, I believe, 8-2 to their season. Might have been 8-3. Anyway, there was a Monday night game against the New England Patriots late in the year where if the Jets won, they would have been in first place. If New England won, they would have been in first place. Huge, huge, huge game. They got the ever-living snot knocked out of them. I think it was a 45-3 final. They were embarrassed. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible game. And just a few weeks later, playoffs roll around, and the Jets pull off an unbelievable upset. David Harris interception to get it started. All the touchdowns memorable, whether you're looking at, the Sean Green one at the end, the insane Santonio Holmes touchdown catch. Braylon Edwards gets into the end zone. There were a lot of really great moments from that game. And the Flyboys on the sideline, just an absolutely iconic moment in Jets history. A huge, huge upset win. Not many gave them a chance after what it just looked like up in New England. New England owned the Jets and, did for a long time. But the Jets got one back. They didn't always beat New England. In fact, more often than not, significantly more often than not, it was the New England Patriots getting the last laugh against the Jets. But this time, it was the Jets' turn. Number 1, Jets win Super Bowl III. That's it. The Jets win their one Super Bowl. It was a low-scoring game. Huge underdogs. Joe Namath guarantees the victory. They actually go out and win the game. Not only is it huge because in Jets history, it's their lone Super Bowl, but it went a long way from the AFL and the NFL to merge and become the NFL as what we know it today. So that game really changed NFL history. The Jets were the first team from the AFL side to win a Super Bowl, and it legitimized the AFL. So this absolutely has to be the number one moment. There's no question about it. And hopefully we get some good moments soon, because as you see on this list, the closest one is 2010, which is 15 years ago. It'd be nice over the next few years if we can kind of get some moments here of our own for a more modern era. All right, let's get to voicemails. We get started with Joe calling in from Maryland. He wants to talk some Mason Taylor.
Hey, Matt, it's Joe from Maryland, and I was wondering if you think Mason Taylor is going to act as a wide receiver, too, for this Jets team. So let me know your thoughts, and go Jets.
Yeah, so I actually talked about Mason Taylor recently on the channel, and I get what Joe is saying here. We know that he's a tight end, but essentially act as a wide receiver, too, meaning he's going to be second in receiving targets and receptions this year. I think Brees is ahead of him receiving wise this year, slightly, but I would more than likely put him third. Is there a chance that Taylor could be number 2 and Brees 3? Yes, absolutely. But I think with how they're going to utilize Justin Fields in this passing offense, I tend to lean more towards Brees. So it's possible, but I would think it goes Garrett 1, Brees 2, Mason Taylor 3, Josh Reynolds 4 is my guess. Max is up next. He wants to talk about his heartbreaking moments.
And this is Max calling in from Holmdel, New Jersey. Today we're going to talk about my top 3 most heartbreaking moments as a Jets fan. So I saw your podcast about the most heartbreaking moments. And, normally I talk about, my stat predictions, but this week is an off week for stat predictions. We're going to talk about my 3 most heartbreaking moments. So for context, I was a Jets fan at the end of 2016. My first full year watching Jets football was in 2017. So here are my 3 most heartbreaking moments as a Jets fan. So my number 3 is the hiring of Adam Gase. Sam Darnold was a promising quarterback back in 2018. Jeremy Bates was the offensive coordinator. Darnold had 17 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. Heading into 2019, there was supposed to be improvement by Darnold. We hired Gase. I don't know, a lot of Jets fans didn't like it. I mean, I didn't really watch much football. It was probably I was 2 years watching to NFL. I was really focused on the Jets, so I thought Gase, was hired requested by Peyton Manning. Oh boy, I was wrong. Adam Gase was a horrible coach. I think he's even worse than Rich Kotite. Until Nathaniel Hackett is a passing as a worse offensive coordinator. In 2019, the Jets started 1-7, but we went 7-9. We finished 6-2 down the stretch, but that was fluky because we played ridiculously easy teams.
Yep.
We lost to the 0-13 Cincinnati Bengals and the 0-11 Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
2020 was the worst year I've ever seen as a Jets fan. We started the season 0-13. I thought we were going to go 0-13 because, the Jets that year were really bad. We won the last 2 games, lost our chance of Trevor Lawrence, and we drafted Zach Wilson, biggest draft bust ever. My number 2 is in 2022. So in 2020, for context, in 2022, we started 7-4, and then we had an ugly collapse. I think the 2022 collapse, in my opinion, is way worse than the 28 collapse because in 2008, the Jets had a winning record on 9-7. 2022, we finished 7-10 with a losing record. We got eliminated out of the playoffs by Geno Smith in Week 17. Geno Smith knocked us out, former Jets quarterback. It was very embarrassing. It solidified at the low point, 12 years out of the playoffs, 12-year playoff draft. And my number 1 is the Aaron Rodgers injury.
Good one.
For context, in the offseason, we got Aaron Rodgers. He was hyping up. We were on Hard Knocks, and then Week 1, Aaron Rodgers went down with the Achilles injury, 4 plays in. It was really bad. Derailed their season. Finished their season 7-10. The point is, if we got a backup quarterback, we could have been playoffs because our defense was insane. And then my honorable mentions. So I think the 1998 AFC Championship is one of my honorable mentions. I didn't think it was that bad. The Broncos that year were way better of a team. They were 14-2. They were led by John Elway. And then 2010 was way worse than 1998. What's your thoughts on Go Jets?
So I think for the ones that you've seen, I totally get that. I agree with you on Adam Gase. That one was really bad. I know that obviously the Broncos were 14-2, but the Jets were up 10-0 in that game. In at least 2010, they were down and had to come back. Both bad, so we're splitting hairs there. Good call out on the end of the 2022 season. How the Jets season started was so much fun. It felt to get a little bit weird after the AVT and Brees Hall injuries, but still ended up being 7-4 at one point and then lose 6 straight games to go 7-10. I still think 2008 was worse, considering that, you know, they made a big move to get Brett Favre, and like just how bad they played down the stretch that year. I think it's more frustrating when you go out and make a big splash like that than versus you just know you don't have a quarterback. Both equally frustrating, right? Like, I'm not discrediting the 2022 collapse. It was horrible. And maybe he could have deserved an honorable mention on my list. Good call, Max. Let's go to Peter up in the beautiful Hudson Valley. He's going to tell me his heartbreaking moments.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter calling from over the beautiful Hudson Valley on this Sunday evening. Calling in this week to basically react to your video, or the first part of it from last week's Just Jets, where you talk about the 5 most disappointing things in Jets history. It could probably go on for days with the most disappointing things that have ever happened in Jets history. And hoping that this week you'll obviously have a top 5 of your favorites, but I'll go back and go some of what you've already indicated were some of the worst moments in Jets history. I do remember the first 2 seasons as a Jets fan, 81 and 82, and them losing in the playoffs both years, especially Richard Todd's interception in the FC wildcard game at Shea, when the Jets were driving, trying, go ahead over the Bills and lost that game. It's disappointing. 82, going all the way to the AFC Championship, and Don Shula having not covered the field the night before in the Orange Bowl. And we got the Mud Bowl, and Todd threw 3 interceptions that day. A.J. Dewey had his best game ever because of it. 86 is one I definitely remember because it actually went double overtime against Cleveland, and I was cheering so loudly at that game that I didn't have my voice in school for the next few days. So that was a fun one. Obviously, the 98 AFC Championship was a disappointment, having had the lead in Denver and then losing it. And losing that game and not going to the Super Bowl that year. A lot of those type games over the years, 2015, beating the Patriots and then not being able to get to the playoffs the following week, obviously a big disappointment. But
Yep.
I think overall, when I think about the most disappointing things in Jets history, really, is the drafts.
Oh.
Like going back and watching the Jets draft picks over the years and thinking, Ken O'Brien, yeah. Blair Thomas, Kyle Brady, Vernon Gholston, these are players that have really helped the Jets out, and just, some of them did and some of them certainly did not. And how far it set back the franchise by not being able to understand how to draft players properly over the years. Now, was it a lot better under Joe Douglas? Yes. Seemingly better so far under Muji? Yes. Is it perfect? It's not a perfect science no matter what you do, drafting players. You could have somebody, draft great players in the first, 4 rounds or so like you did in 2022. And you can have drafts where, none of the first 4 or 5 rounds worth of picks hit. And then you get better, draft choices later on, or undrafted free agents. So you never know what's going to happen. But overall, the fact that the Jets just can't ever seem to draft really well has been probably one of the most disappointing things in Jets history. So, hoping to hear what you may say about your favorites this week. I'll probably do that for next.
You got cut off at the end. But yes, excited to hear your moments next week. I really like that angle of the draft picks because, how could you not go Dan Marino, Ken O'Brien, Jamal Adams over, Pat Mahomes, and on and on and on and on it goes. Not taking Tristan Wirfs, so many ones, even recently, the really big head scratchers, and there's a lot of them. Kyle Brady, the video of the Jets draft blunders, Johnny Lamb Jones, and Roger Vick, all those names that you've heard if you've watched that video or around for that time period. The draft has a major impact on the trajectory of your franchise, and it's hard if you can't get out of your own way. And even when the Jets were good, think of, even 2000s, there were a lot of misses. Dwayne Robertson third or fourth overall in 2003. You had in 2008 Vernon Golston. You had Kyle Wilson. Like there's just a lot of ones where you go Quentin Copels, and you're just scratching your head, and you're like, what are they doing? What is going on here? And that is carried over into the modern era. So I like that angle a lot, Peter. I really do. PG from Long Island up next.
Hello, Matt O'Leary. PG from Long Island here. Thank you for taking the call.
Hello, sir.
You were correct last week in your assessment that for the Jets to get to 10 wins, a lot of things have to break in their direction. I would like to point out once again that the Jets have a fairly easy schedule. I think that's being overlooked a little bit. Their opponents combined in loss percentage last year is under 500. Second thing that has to go right is the coaching needs to improve, which I kind of think is a given. I think in one of your YouTubes this week, you called their coaching last year horrendous.
Yes.
Well, I think this coaching staff will be better than horrendous. In fact, I think it has a chance to be good or very good, even for their first year. But the thing that really needs to go right is Justin Fields. And Justin Fields is a tremendous athlete, great arm, obviously can run, a great leader, evidently, great work ethic.
Yep.
From what we hear. But he's been criticized for holding the ball too long. And in my opinion, that is a symptom of not reading the field. And in fact, when he was replaced by Russell Wilson last year, when Wilson came back from injury, I read an article where Tomlin felt that he just wasn't seeing the field good enough, missing too many open receivers. And it's hard. Listen, you're an NFL quarterback, toughest job in sports. You have 3 seconds to make a decision and throw an accurate pass. Meanwhile, 350-pound linemen who are almost superhuman athletes are coming after you, and their job is to take your head off. So, yeah, it's hard to do. And, Brown and Nagel could never figure it out. Jack Wilson could never figure it out. Here's the thing, though. Can Tanner Angstrom scheme an offense that, as he continues to grow, minimizes his need to do that? In other words, can you get in 1 or 2 reads very quickly? If Wilson's being single covered, just go to Wilson. If he's double covered, you see another hole in the defense, and you make quick reads that way. That's my question. Can Tanner Angstrom scheme an offense that minimizes, as he continues to grow, his ability to read the field?
Yeah.
Anyway, love your thoughts on that, Matt O'Leary. And as always,
go. He didn't get the Go Jets off. Oh, it cut him off for some reason. Sorry for that, PG. The answer is yes, and I think you bring up a fair point in that. It's up to your offensive coordinator to maximize your players' talent. So these long developing plays are not going to be the root of success in this offense. It's just flat out not. Now, I'm not saying you dink and dunk your way down the field, but you can't have these 7-step drops, scan the field, scan the field, scan the field. Oh, yeah, let me now launch it 25-plus yards down the field. That's not going to be the success of this offense. It's going to be the ground game that they establish from their running backs, but also the designed runs from Justin Fields. Building into that the play-action game, the quick screen game. I think he needs to be better thrown over the middle of the field, like on slants and whatnot. And then when you get your chance, you have a guy streaking down the field. Arian Smith should be someone that they send deep once or twice a game and take a shot. And if it hits, great. And if not, it just pushes the defense off a little bit. And then you continue to just run and run and run the ball. Yeah, there is a path to it. There absolutely is. And it just can't be these long 5-7 step drops that he's waiting for to develop and take the shot down the field. You might have circumstances where he needs to do it, but regularly that can't be the way that they go about doing it. And get on their center a little bit. Aaron Rodgers in that offense was all shotgun last year. Get under center. Shake things up a little bit. We close with Logan calling in from Connecticut, and he wants to talk some fantasy football.
Hi, Matt. This is Logan from Connecticut, calling in as a diehard Jets fan. I was wondering what you think on taking Brees as my top running back in fantasy. Obviously, the Jets are going to be a big, run-heavy offense with a fantastic O-line, and I have very high expectations for the Jets. But do you think Brees will be to the caliber of, say, I don't know, the top 5 running backs this year? Besides that, just wanted to say love the channel.
Thank you, man. I
love
appreciate
the videos. Go Jets.
I think it's really, really risky if you're going to rock with Brees Hall as your number 1 running back. His ADP, average draft position for running backs, is as running back 13. Last year, he finished as running back 18. I'm looking at Fantasy Pros. They have him as their 14th ranked running back going into the season. Now, I might adjust it, like Chase Brown from Cincinnati, for instance, is at 13. I would probably have Brees Hall above Chase Brown. But is he going to be in that Saquon, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry tier? I don't think so. No. Now, is there a path to him getting to like the Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs tier? Yeah, but it's risky. I'm not saying don't draft him. I would be. It also depends on draft strategy too. Like, do you take a running back early and take Brees maybe in, I don't know, what's his overall ADP? His overall ADP is 37. So what is that? Like the 3rd round? Would you go like, I don't know, Saquon or Bijan in the 1st round, grab a wide receiver in round 2, coming back to you in round 3, and you get him? That could interest me as your RB2, but I don't think I would be comfortable having him as the RB1 on my fantasy team. It's just, you're taking a really big gamble. If it hits, great, but I'm more willing to do that with a guy as like as an RB2, wide receiver 2, something like that. So that's going to do it for me on this one, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe here if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.